Welcome, all of our Reserves Network Goldmine podcast followers. I do appreciate you following our channel, and we thank you. Let's kick off today's Goldmine podcast with a discussion around recruiting in an urban versus rural area. Overall, hiring in a rural area as opposed to an urban area can be very different, although people are people wherever you live. However, there are some marketing techniques that can help. I do also think that it's all about how you promote your open roles. So on today's show, I have joining us today, we have two seasoned recruiters from two very different regions, one from Houston, Texas area, and one from a small rural town in Peru, Streator, Illinois. We are going to break it down and break down the barriers. So please let me introduce my two guests today. Sara Shinkley, excuse me, began her career with TRN in 2014 as a staffing assistant. And in those years, she had several roles with our company, beginning with a staffing supervisor and then account executive and a branch manager. And Sara is, how she describes herself, as a hands-on boss who likes to roll up her sleeves and get right in there with her team. And she is a mother of, believe it or not, 5 children. God bless you, Sara. I gotta tell you, I don't know how you do it. I guess you love being busy. That would be probably, and you love chaos.
Yeah, chaos. Good chaos.
Good chaos going on there. And we have Gracie Garza. And her experience level is she is from our Houston, Texas. And we all know there's going to be a big differentiator there between Houston and a little town that we called many years ago, we call it corn and beans territory. So Gracie is again from our Houston office, and I believe she's celebrating her 4th year anniversary with the company. Born in Texas, and she's lived in Houston for 10 years. And Gracie also graduated from the University of Houston. So she started as a recruiter, and with the Houston team, they call themselves the Dream Team. And I think we're about to find out why. So welcome, welcome, welcome. So guys, I want to start out with, like 1 out of every 4 businesses located outside of a metro area struggle to find qualified workers compared to 1 out of 6 in metro areas. Okay. So if you're located outside of metro area, the bottom line is there are more adults that are 65 and older. 25% are rural population versus 19% in metro areas. And then let's talk about white and non-Hispanic adults aged 16 and older. They make up about 82% of the population in non-metro areas compared to 60% in metro areas. So my first question to you guys is, I'd like to jump into this with my first question for Sara, who has been with the 2 branches down there in Peru and Streator, Illinois for a while, which, by the way, I have been in this area numerous times, and I used to tease them down there. Every time I go there, I'm like, what do you guys do? Go out in the fields and plant people and then water them and wait for them to grow and then go pluck them out of the dirt. So anyway, Sara, what are some of the key challenges you face in recruiting in Peru and Streator?
With it being so rural and a lot of people know a lot of people, the challenges would be that these people have applied to every agency around here. So you have to get on the phones and get to them pretty much first, and interviewing them, onboarding them, and presenting them a job when you get them on the phone or in person, because if you're not presenting that job to them, they're going to that next agency that's literally like down the block from my location in Peru. Here in Streator, we're the only agency here in Streator. The only issue that we run into here is transportation and people, carpooling a lot. So we actually have an NCAT bus here that we were able to present to the candidates here in Streator. So they are able to pay, $5 a day to get to here and there, because we were running into carpooling, one calls off, then you have 5 off,
Yeah.
for one
Yeah.
person. So
Because they depend on each other to get to work. And
and then the driver's sick, and then they all are sick, and they can't go in.
Okay. And so let's get your take on it, Gracie. What's competition for talent in urban areas such as Houston, Texas? What's it like?
Well, I think it's actually interesting to hear some similarities where I thought maybe it would be different, right? So like you talking about the competition between agencies. So that for us is like a huge deal because we also have so many agencies and staffing firms here in the Houston area that, we want to be different, but like genuinely different, right? Because we hear stories about people saying, I didn't have a good experience, or I wasn't followed up with, or whatever. So just kind of the sheer volume of candidates can sometimes be like the alternate difficulty, right? We want to stand out, but we want to be genuine as to why we're standing out. So like, treating everybody's application the same way and being very responsive as much as we possibly can, right? Also
that's key.
Yeah,
Being
and just
very responsive is key.
Yeah, and the timeliness of following up on our candidates' applications, right? Because we might have one company working with 5 agencies, and so like we have to make sure that our talent is seen in the best way possible. Otherwise, we could lose to our competitors because we're not showcasing our talent in the right way. So a lot of the times too, it's just really about like the timeliness on top of the volume for jumping on some of these, open requisitions that we want our people to fill. So I would say that's a lot of it.
And, I have traveled to many of our offices. I have not been to Houston, but I have been to Dallas, and that was crazy. And I have, of course, been down to Peru and Streator, and the traffic and commuting, does that play a role in urban areas or in rural areas? I mean, I know you addressed it, Sara, about, your rural area and having not too many buses available, to get people back and forth to work, and of course commuting together. But how does that play a role out there in Texas, Gracie? I know it has to.
Absolutely. So it plays an extreme role when it comes to, marketing jobs to our talent pool. And a lot of it too is, someone might look at a job and be like, oh my God, it looks great. And we know like you would be so qualified for this job, right? This is a perfect opportunity for you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you can be 10 miles away from a job and it take you longer than being 25 miles away from a job strictly because of traffic.
Yeah.
So we have to look at, the time they're going to be departing, the time that someone would be arriving, help them to understand too, like we don't want them to be miserable 2 weeks into the job because they're commuting 2.5 to 3 hours daily to get to a job. So we have to be very honest about like, hey, let's look at that route together and let's talk about it, because like we don't want them to be miserable, but we also want someone to be able to be on time and present for our clients too. So it plays a huge factor. Same with educating our clients too. So right now, a lot of candidates want hybrid, right? So they do have that work-life balance. So it's kind of like also showing our clients, hey, like, your pool of candidates could be a lot larger if you were willing to, possibly give them a little bit more work-life balance if possible, right? So it affects both our clients and our candidates, I would say on a pretty huge scale.
And flexible work times, especially in an area like Houston. If everybody's leaving at 7 or 7:30 in the morning, I can just like have a visual of what the traffic's like. So just maybe being a little flexible. Do you have anything else to add, Sara, about commuting and your urban or your rural area? Sorry,
we were talking about it actually before as a group, and it can be like 40 miles away or whatever, but we're taking back roads. So we can leave at, the same time pretty much every day and get there on time. So, we don't have an issue really with that. It's just the transportation of people and their physical driver's license and getting them there. So that's why we, partnered with the NCAT in the LaSalle County area. In the Princeton area, there's, it's called B-Part. So we got around that for our, our employees and helping them find a solution to making the client happy where there's not 4 people calling off, right? And the employee happy that they're getting to work and getting a paycheck.
It's a different ride, right? In the morning and coming home, it's like, everything is beautiful. And then in Houston, it's like, oh my God,
Right.
right?
Get out of my way.
I can't tell you the like numbers of
it.
hours of podcasts that I've listened to
Right.
on my way home.
Hopefully you've got us plugged in. So
Right,
guys,
exactly.
one of the last questions I have for you and is, getting involved, I'm a big advocate. Community organizations as well as networking can make a significant impact on your recruiting efforts in several ways, both rural and urban areas. So I'd love for you guys to ring in on what are you doing and what impact does it make when your community knows who you are when you're walking down the street, Sarah, and somebody says, "Oh, there's Sarah from the Reserves Network." They recognize you, right? In a small town.
I can tell you, it gives you all the good feels, and you're like, whenever you go and do something good, and sometimes you don't get anything out of it, but you do because it brings you present in front of their faces, and like. So we participate with Salvation Army that's right around the corner, and she calls us and she's like, I have this budget and I have to use it towards workforce. What are you guys seeing that you need? So we have steel-toed boots
Awesome.
we get steel-toed boots for our employees. One customer requires a white t-shirt, and so they do that for us. We are also part of like a foundation, and we donate our time, and we've done an Easter egg hunt there. We've done face paintings, a golf outing. We do need to get back in the chamber. I think COVID kind of, whatever. And we're starting to do breakfasts again and stuff like that. And that's once a month. But your chambers, your foundations, our little city park does stuff, we're going to be a part of the Halloween trick-or-treating that's coming up, and
that's always big down there.
So
I've been there once for that. It's a big
it's-
thing. It's a big deal.
It makes you feel good. It makes you feel good whether you get people out of it or not. You just don't realize it. I mean, they're not coming in by the packs, but you do get something out of it.
What about out there in Houston, Gracie? What do you got cooking with community works?
So actually one of our goals this quarter was really to just kind of, because we've sort of had to start from scratch with our more recent merge, right? We did have a little bit of a brand name prior, but now we are the Reserves Network, and we're a little bit newer in the Houston area. So a lot of it's us kind of building, from the ground up and working our way up. We're actually planning, hopefully by the end of October, we are looking at doing a kind of like a meet and greet on how to prep for interviews, as well as how to cater your resume, where people can actually come in. We're going to take a look at their resumes, help them to maybe see, mark it up, what you can work on, what you can do. Also, I know that here in Texas, like we've had some food drives and things like that. We were also looking into partnering with some organizations that help do a clothing drive for people who might need that first outfit for an interview or something like that. So we're doing things like that, as well as a lot of our sales, because they're the ones who are really, really out in the community. They are doing drops. They are, going to the different organizations, being a part of the different chambers that we've talked about. So they really do lead a lot of our spearhead, kind of like while we're holding down the fort, trying to keep all the operations going. They're working 90 to nothing to just put our brand name out there too.
Right. It's all about branding.
Yes. And a lot of it too is really word of mouth. And I know that word of mouth may not sound like we're actively participating every single day, but at the same time we are. So when you're treating somebody a certain way and you really are doing the most that you can, I've had stories from different recruiters too, and even working with people myself where we put their family to work, we put their family's family to work
Yeah.
and their friends to work. And it's really just a matter of them coming back and being like, hey, I was referred to you guys because you helped so-and-so, or they had a really great experience. And so a lot of what we do is, again, kind of going back to that, genuinely treating everybody with that level of respect, because it does come back to you. Like
It
they
certainly does.
and
It
like
certainly
those are the
does.
people that like you enjoy working with because there's a story behind it, right? And they're telling their friends about it and their family members, and so we always appreciate like referrals too. So we're getting in the works of putting our brand name back out there, and it's definitely a team effort.
Well, and those are feel good stories, and that makes you feel good as a recruiter, you know, that you're changing lives. That's what it's all about. Well,
Absolutely.
guys, I'd love to keep talking to you, but we're ending our podcast, and again with my Debraism. So here's my Debraism for today. Remember, in the world of recruiting, it's not about choosing between urban or rural. It's about finding the perfect fit every individual has, because talent knows no boundaries. Whether you're in the heart of a big city or in the tranquility of the countryside, talent knows no boundaries. Embrace the diversity of your landscapes, whether you're rural or urban, and an opportunity is waiting to be discovered. All you have to do is go find it. Thank you, Sara. Thank you, Gracie, for being our guest on the Reserves Network Gold Mines podcast. Please subscribe, like, follow the Reserves Network and the Gold Mines podcast. Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.